Hello and welcome to the Spiritual Solopreneur podcast. Today, my guest is for round two, Daniel Dubois. Daniel is a wizard and guide to primordial magic and the primordial self. Founder and co-host of the Think Like a Wizard podcast, he helps people build solid connections with the spirit world by giving them a strong foundation of self-awareness and sense of the spiritual forces around them. Hi, Daniel.
Hi Bev.
How you doing?
I'm uh I'm good. I'm busy working lots of things. There's
Awesome.
never rest for a wizard. No rest for the
No,
wizard.
no, that's for the wizard. Well, I'm glad that your podcast is going strong. Think like a wizard. That's awesome. Last time we talked on this podcast, we talked a bit about the need, the sort of acute need for people at this time to connect with their spiritual, across the veil, let's say, connect with spirit guides, that sort of thing. Is that still the case? Is it still super important right now that we
Ah,
do that?
I'm glad that you bring that up because there has been a change.
Okay.
So I like to describe it as in, so there's waves. Okay. So it was very important to start connecting to yourself, knowing who, as I said, know who you are, be who you are, love who you are, and stand up for who you are. Well, now the first wave of doing something with that has started in September.
How
Oh,
timely. It's
yes,
September right now. Okay.
yes. So it's already started, but that I say is the first wave. So the first wave of people who are ready to go and to go into the world and teach and really be there to help anchor people spiritually is definitely a time where people need to be anchored spiritually. Now is the time for that first wave to start going, to really get into action. Like even I started it, like I I was staying away from posting things like on Instagram and Facebook and wherever else. But now I've started doing it even and actually having, we'll be talking about it later, but I even put a program in order to start for those who need some guidance and some help to get themselves started. So
Okay.
it's the time to take action for at least if you feel right now it's time to act, now is the time to act.
So now is the time to step up as a
Mm.
leader in
Yeah.
for the others that still need to be communicating with the other side. And why is it so important that we do that?
Well, I could just point directly to what's going on in the world right now
A little bit of
and then say, and then drop the mic because,
right. Yeah. So you knew this day was come, basically.
well, I mean, I didn't have details, but when you sense the flow, you kind of you start to see where flow is kind of an appropriate word because you start to see where there's like, when you're looking at a river and you start to see where the current gets stronger, or you start to see where there's whirlpools and eddies. I think they're two different things. But anyways, because there's obstructions and you start to kind of feel the obstructions coming and you can kind of get a sense of where you need to be or where you need to go. And so, yeah, right now it's very much, in fact, that's actually why people had to start to know themselves because we are experiencing a lot of propaganda like globally. Like, you don't have to just worry about what's happening in the United States. Like, I mean, I'm in Canada, but even in Canada, stuff like that's starting to happen. But it's not just here. It's Britain, Australia. I mean, a lot of
Yeah.
Europe.
Wars all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah. And lots of heavy propaganda. But I mean, you can go even further and say it's not even just that. It's just like advertising for products, even, or even like pulling you away from doing things that are healthy for you are also increasing. So it's more than now, people need to know who they are. So that, that expression, you have to stand for something because if you don't, you'll fall for everything. Is
I
that how it goes?
didn't, but that's a good one.
Yeah. You have to stand for something or you won't fall or you'll fall for everything. And that's kind of where we are. You have to give yourself at least a point of reference to start with. And the best point of reference is to be who you are and understand yourself and what you need.
And that would actually open up communication with
Oh,
the
absolutely.
spiritual world.
Yes.
And can we start getting messages then and help and guidance? Is that the idea?
Yes, but it'll come in waves, right? The people who are
Yeah.
ready to go starting now. Like, and people have been getting messages all along, but whether you understood it as a message or the meaning of the message, that's also kind of a different way to look at it. Like there's always been messages, whether or not you're able to receive it or understand what the message means, or are prepared to understand or to receive is also a thing. But now it's kind of becoming more obvious or more required.
Okay. Okay. And we talked about 2027 as being an actual what's happening there. I mean, it's
So
things are crazy enough in 2025.
yeah, well, I'm not an expert in human design, but to my understanding, I mean, my co-host is a lot more knowledgeable in that ways than me. But in 2027, to my understanding in human design, there's the great mutation where a lot of people are going to start going from being, uh, how to word that, to more intuitive, basically from more requiring site-based, analysis to being more intuitive in their flow and understanding. There's,
Interesting.
I think it's in the Breyer's, no, I can't think of it. That psychological test where you get your initials there, like
Oh,
TF and all that. Breyer,
Myers-Briggs?
Myers-Briggs. I was looking for. There was an M
It's,
there, and I
it's a
couldn't think about it.
combination of Myers-Briggs, Breyers.
Yeah, right. And you get intuitive thinkers, and you have, the our logical thinkers. I think it's called, or at least ones who use outside clues and people who use their inside clues. The people usually the internal thinkers or intuitive thinkers usually come up with solutions, but don't know why they come up with it because it's something they just do naturally without having to go through and do lab work and all these step by step things.
Or
So
analyze
yeah,
why they're just doing it or why they're just getting it.
right. Actually, is that the one? Intuitive thinkers and analytical thinkers?
I think so.
Yeah.
I could
I
look
wasn't
it up,
expecting to
but
go Myers-Briggs today.
we'll Google Myers-Briggs after.
Yeah. But that's kind of, to my understanding, what's happening. And that's going to be a major shift for a lot of people, and that's going to require a lot of guidance.
Gotcha.
Because people are
So
going to start
cool.
like talking about things and go, wait, where did I know that from? Or a lot of confusion comes with that, and then a lot of people will exploit it. That's also part of the species, and I mean, a lot of exploitation happening right now. So
Well, it's been going on. I mean,
yeah,
it's nothing new, really. I mean, look at all the musicians that have come up with these fabulous songs, and they
yeah,
always say, a lot of them say, some say, yeah, it's me being a genius, but some say, I don't know where that came from. It just came to me. So yeah.
yeah. I know the Greeks had an idea of you have a genius, and it would be like a spirit that lives in your wall, and they would whisper things to you, kind of like the muses. But
Hmm.
so yeah, so there's that idea, right, where you're getting inspiration from an outside source. Like there's a lot of things that inspire you, your personal experience, you know, stuff you see from other people, spiritual messages you get. Like it comes from a lot of sources. You just have to be open for it. In fact, actually, it's so prevalent. That's how people get fooled by things, is because you're always looking for outside inspiration.
That is
And
true.
so when you understand that, like stage magicians really understand it. I don't know if we talked about it before. You
I don't
know,
think so.
like a stage magician might ask you to think of a shape while holding their hands in a shape in front of them, you know?
Okay. Subliminal hint.
Right. Yeah. Because you're always looking for in your environment, you're always looking for something. What's the next thing to do? It's actually part of manipulating people is realizing that.
Gotcha. So this downloading or whatever you want to call it can be manipulated as well.
Right. Anytime someone is unsure, if you suggest a way forward without necessarily even saying the way forward, that's how you start manipulating people. You just suggest things. You just kind of narrow the options, you know.
Hmm.
People don't always notice when their options are narrowed. They're just looking for a decision to make. So if they're stuck in trying to make a decision, then you just got to reduce the decisions they make or the options of their decisions. And a lot of times you just start taking away the things that are actually better for them,
That's
and
true.
you,
So
and you add just
so
things that are more difficult.
don't ne you don't necessarily need to give somebody advice that's having an issue.
Right.
Because, people do it out of the goodness of their heart. They're
Right.
actually trying to help.
Hmm.
But um, yeah, so for those who are in a point of indecision, just take everything in and
Be wary of the
understand that,
messages you're getting.
yeah, be aware of the messages you're getting from wherever they may be
Yeah.
coming.
Right.
Exactly.
And that doesn't mean like again, manipulation isn't necessarily in itself good or bad, right? Because when you're teaching someone, you're trying to manipulate them towards the answer.
True.
So you use the same techniques, you just have a different goal in mind.
Well, the universe doesn't have good or bad, so I'm sure that applies to words too.
Yeah, well
Everything's neutral.
that's it, right? There is no spirituality doesn't come with morality. It's literally just making a connection and maintaining that connection. And it's by being true to who you are. And you're not necessarily a good person or a bad person. You're someone's
Exactly.
hero and you're someone's monster. Depends
Exactly.
on the decisions you make.
I like that. Spirituality is not necessarily morality. It's true.
Yeah.
So I confess I had to look up the word primordial,
Okay.
but I sort of figured, okay, primordial.
Right.
So what do you mean by the primordial self or primordial nature?
Yes. So basically what I mean by that is the get back to the core of who you are without cultural influence, outside influence, just that which makes you a human being. The thing before we added stuff to it.
That would be a trick to get to, I think.
Yeah. It can be because depending on your personality type, right? If you're heavily dependent on social cues from other people, you know, that's a hard ask to tell someone to just shut everything out and go back to who they are and just sit there, with who they are and let those things happen. But it's so important. We have done something in society that makes us easy to manipulate and makes us compliant, but is so detrimental to us as individuals, making it even harder for us to learn skills, harder for us to do tasks, harder for us to have happiness, not even necessarily out of malicious intent, just that we use words like you have to have discipline and you have to be motivated. And the reason you don't have those things when that phenomena occurs is because it's not aligned with you. And you need time to see if it can align with you. So when you're not motivated to do something, it's because you don't know why it's important yet. You don't know why this goes with you, why this should be something that matters to you. Because think about it, right? The minute you're interested in something, really interested in something, no one has to tell you to do it. No one has to tell you to you have to set time, you have to put a timer, you have to make a schedule, make some lists so like you're on it. There's no, right? You flow with it, you do it. I don't need to tell anyone to do the thing they love to do.
That's so true.
But you do have to work very hard at getting someone to do something they don't want to do.
That's right. So what does that tell you?
Yeah. I, and again, this is not something where I can like fault people because this is something we accept as a group. The bigger we want our societies to be, the harder it is to let individuals flow on their own. There's some good reasons for that, and there's some bad reasons for that. Or there's some, potentially you could qualify certain reasons as good or bad. Like if you're trying to get everyone to work on a project and you have more people than you can talk to, you have to have a system in place to keep them in line. That's not going to work for everyone. It might
That's
work
true.
for the majority of people. Like some people are more compliant than others, but you're always going to have a problem with the outliers. And we all have differences of opinions. And that's how a group works. It's so that we don't get all stuck with one decision and that can destroy the group. We all decide to go left, but one person said, no, 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 left. If you look at those plants, there's some poisonous plants there. And the minute you touch it, it'll get you. So we should go this way. Even though this way is harder, it doesn't have toxic plants right there. That
Well,
idea just
that's
came to
that's a
mind.
leader.
Yeah. Right. And so we have leaders, but I'm not trying to establish as a power dynamic. To me, a leader is a central coordinator.
Mhm.
So they just kind of like take what everyone is doing and then kind of be the person that everyone can focus on when they need questions answered.
Facilitator.
Right. Yes, facilitator. That is exactly the word I'm looking for. A facilitator. So not everyone is the same, right? And facilitators have certain needs, like information, and they're not necessarily easy to tell what to do because they're the ones trying to come up with decisions. So facilitators are hard to teach, but once they're taught, they're awesome.
Mm, okay. So and so now's the time for the facilitators to step forward
Facilitate.
to
Yes.
facilitate. Exactly.
Yes. In this case, facilitate people's spiritual growth.
Yeah. Fantastic. So, you mentioned your co-host on Think Like a
Right.
Wizard. You guys both, Michaela, you
Yeah.
guys both channel.
Hmm.
So, who are you channeling? Who and or what are you channeling these days?
So I, I'll throw this one out there. It'll be interesting. So sometimes it's hard to tell who you're channeling, like knowing who they are. Actually, this week, me and Michaela didn't tell each other who we're channeling. I got something that ended up, a spirit that ended up presenting itself as the serpent from the Garden of Eden. But that was the symbolism it used. Because sometimes you got to go through steps to get to where, because we've had spirits on there that I've never heard about. But then turns out, like, we had Agni, which is the Hindu god of fire. I had never heard of Agni before. So it took a lot of steps to get to Agni before I got to it, you know?
Before you
So,
understood that it was
yeah,
that's who it was? Okay.
right. So this one showed off kind of with I assumed, the serpent from the Garden of Eden. But what it did, like the first thing that showed up was a dragon, right? That's the first imagery I got. And then it kind of got refined by being the serpent in the Garden of Eden. But my assumption was because there was an angel and there was a serpent, and they were kind of like flying around each other.
Oh.
So, as far as I know, this spirit has no name still. It's not one that's commonly known. But the reason there was an angel and a serpent flying around each other because it meant to represent opposites, but opposites still on the same path. And kind of the point of having a rival, if you've ever had a rival, or having someone who opposes your ideas, is that you're both looking at the same topic, but with different perspectives, right? And so the spirit I'm working with this week, its goal is to show that the opposites, it's time for them to come together and share what they've learned from their perspective. This isn't because you're in conflict. It's just that I view it this way and you view it this way. Now let's see collectively what we've learned.
That's a tall order right now.
Right. It's been very tired. That's why I'm saying I'm tired this week because that's a very big one. The flow of energy from
How's
that
that
kind of
going?
idea. Yeah. It's a very tiring flow of energy because you're trying to hold two things together and then try to get the best outcome.
Yeah.
Now, that's just me on a personal level, my work with it. But then when you think about it, this is needed by society, right? Because we are pretty divided. Like we're divided in ways. I mean, I know we always go through periods of a lot of division, but it matters now even more than before. I mean, it's always mattered because everyone's story is important.
Hmm. Hmm.
But we're kind of at a moment where the spirit world is like, you know what? You guys got to get your stuff together.
Kinda, yeah. Is that the message that the spirit this week's spirits have for humanity?
No, the message this week is to basically look at someone who's opposite to you, has opposite ideas, and see if you can learn from them,
Hmm.
right? Because we all have our strengths and our weaknesses. Then if someone's the opposite of you, obviously their strengths and their weaknesses will complement yours. You don't think about it that way, right? We think, oh, this
No.
person's in opposition to me. No, you're complementary to each other. You just forgot how to work together because people have been trying to divide everyone for a long time.
Well, yeah.
So now we're in an age where we can do all these great things. These divisions are artificial. They're just now a mechanism of keeping power versus actually moving forward and helping everyone out. But yeah, so now this week the message is get together, like look at each other, don't see an enemy, see someone who is looking at it from a different perspective and see what they learned from that.
Well, I think it's interesting that the differences are wildly magnified right now, more
Mm.
so, than I can remember. And so is that is that part of is that a symptom of this time being the time that to do this? That it seems like it's gotten
Yeah.
so divided. It's just so crazily divided. It can't
Yeah,
get any more divided.
yeah, we're getting peak there. We're getting peak
Peak.
pretty soon. Yeah,
That's one
peak
way of putting
division.
it.
Like, I
Peak
mean,
division.
shy of everyone just encountering each other on the street and start fighting. Like, there's for
Mhm.
for a civilized society that can actually push through, we're getting there. We're getting to the peak of this is
Right.
what the amount of disagreements we can tolerate before everything falls apart. But it doesn't have to fall apart. All we have to
Okay.
do is remember that the people with opposing views from us are just people with different perspectives. But we're taught to, not value that. We're taught to look at them as an enemy rather than someone who's just taking a different path than you.
Yeah, exactly. That's
And
that's an awesome message.
right, and that's the thing because there's things they've explored that you didn't,
Yeah, precisely.
and that's why it matters.
Now, do you guys have take any precautions for protection, or you're just channeling
Oh,
whatever's
well, I was
there
gonna,
kind of thing?
hmm. Well, I was gonna say like I have a ongoing setup every time we do a podcast that it's protected. I have like the spirits that I trust and that I've worked with for a long time. So they're like what you can call it, the doorman. They don't let people in who are
Gatekeepers.
right. Yeah, they're not letting anyone in harmful, as far as I know. I mean, I haven't encountered anything harmful.
Okay. Okay.
You do run the risk of misinterpreting some things sometimes because you're asked to explore certain things deeper than you normally would. And I always use this analogy. When a porcupine gets their barbs in you or their quills in you, well, it's got a barb at the end. So when you pull it out, it hurts more than going in,
Yeah.
but you still have to pull it out. So just because you experience something that you might not find pleasant doesn't mean you're having a bad experience. It just means that these are some of the things that were very difficult for you to work with.
Hmm.
There's that whole layer, to be dealt with before you even start making pronunciations like this is a demonic spirit or this is a negative spirit, because there's just things you have to face before you can get to enlightenment or get to a happier place. You have to face the things that make you unhappy so you
And
can see how they stop you from being happy.
right.
Like
So
I,
if
but
I mean it might be a negative spirit or it might not.
right. But the only way to really tell, again, is to get a good sense of the flow around you. Like when someone is being disingenuous, right? Sometimes you'll catch it even in their wording, right? Because they're not thinking or they're trying to overthink, and you see their flow is disrupted or the behavior doesn't seem natural to them. Little cues like that, right? Starts telling you that person's not being honest. So even when it's the same way in the spirit world, like when they're doing something for you and it does, and the flow is like either starts to get bumpy or it just doesn't seem like it's holding its where it should be. It's starting to defreq or the frequency starting to fall apart. That's when you start getting said, oh, maybe this thing's not being as honest with me as it could be. So maybe this isn't the right thing. That's why it's important to know yourself. The reason it's so absolutely important to know yourself is because that's where you're going to know what an honest frequency feels like. When you realize, like, when you notice yourself and you notice you're being dishonest and you start to know how everything feels out of place, well, when you feel that coming from someone else, they're not being completely honest with themselves or maybe with you because there's not a proper flow. It's actually, I wasn't going to mention it, but it's actually, this is where you pick up skills. Just like you can learn to deceive with your normal physical cues, you can learn to deceive with your spiritual cues, but you gotta, just like you tell a normal lie, you have to use a lot of truth in your lie to get that native flow of truth,
Hmm.
even spiritually. But that's the thing, right? That means then there's things to learn because there's truth in there somewhere.
There always is.
Basically, yeah. So what I'm trying to get at is that in deceptions, there's truth. And if you're willing to pay attention to see what that truth is, you can kind of look at the situation as, yes, they're trying to deceive me, but they're giving me wisdom whether they realize it or not. And then you take something positive out of it and you don't get that same bad effect.
Yeah, awesome. So knowing ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
paramount,
Yes,
priority
absolutely.
one. What's the first step there?
Well, it's about being prepared to know that you're not necessarily perfect. When you can drop that or drop the need to be perfect, because there's no such thing. The universe is always in motion. It adapts. Once you think you've hit perfection, something changes to counter your perfection. It's like, the fastest predator, breeds the fastest prey, and the fastest prey breeds the fastest predator. So just when a predator thinks it's faster than its prey, the prey evolves to be faster. So there's no perfection.
Well, and that sounds easy to do, but it's not actually.
No, no, but it can be fun. If you enjoy that kind of work, it's awesome. If you don't enjoy doing that kind of work, then you need help. The kind of help, and that's also fine because every time you help someone else, it strengthens you as well.
Mhm,
It
mhm.
increases your knowledge, right? Every new client makes you a coach, an advisor, whatever
Yeah,
your profession is, because you get a new idea, a new perspective, something you didn't think about before.
it's
We're
cumulative,
yeah, we're defined, so we can't have everything right from the start. We
right?
have to pull it in from outside or from what's inside us that we finally recognize.
So tell me about your program.
Ah, so right now, well, actually, I'll break it down like this. I was thinking about it today because I have the Think Like a Wizard podcast,
Mhm.
right? And so that's free. That's like, and actually, if you're very clever about it, you can learn magic, how to do magic without for free completely. You just pay
Okay.
attention to what's going on in the episode, especially the first season. First season, I kind of worked the mindset in, and then we just kind of discuss topics and even throw in like, oh, and this is how you do this every once in a while. So it's like you could learn and you could do magic on your own without magic is actually very easy to do. You just have to realize you're doing it.
Okay.
Kind of literally like that. So, but then, right? Now I thought, okay, well, one of the important things about yourself and being able to do spiritual things very well is to actually be healthy. Because just like, when you're engaging in physical activities, you're using the same resources that keep you alive, that keep your organs healthy and all that kind of stuff. Well, it's the same thing spiritually. The same things that are keeping you bound to your body, you're using that when you do spiritual things. But if you're healthy enough, you can divert it. Just like
Hmm.
you can divert energy from your organs to your muscles to do things, you can do the same thing. So you got to be healthy. And plus, the healthier you are, usually the better your mind frame, and the better your mind frame, the less likely to deceive yourself you are, or the least likely to block things out you are. So right now I'm concentrating on that part. I'm going to evolve that into also a follow-up program called Move Like a Wizard.
Okay, so the health one is the one you got right now is Eat Like a Wizard, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so expound on that a little bit.
All right. So for people who know about the WildFit program started by Eric Edmeades, I'm using
Mhm.
that as a foundation because
Gotcha.
because he already did like 20 plus years of research into things that are actually good for the human diet, and psychological concepts. So when I did it as not a coach, like I eventually signed up to coach it, I realized just how you can expand those principles to a spiritual level. So I thought, all right, part of the program is built in right there. I already have someone who's done the work, who's built, used the biological evolution to talk to you about what's good for you to eat, and even did some of the psychological work. So I expand upon that to bring you to the more spiritual magical part of it, and is that when you eat, you're taking the forces that other things use to keep themselves alive into yourself to keep yourself alive. Like I said, there's no way out of life without eating and taking that force from someone else. That's just how it is. You just reconnect every time you eat. It's basically a life continuing ritual that you do. So, so going through that, understanding so the part I add on is the understanding that you know, making sure your food is spiritually healthy, because depending on something died, right, the spiritual energy can be off. You could go as far as say contaminated. So you kind of take that time to decontaminate it, to relax it, and to make it more usable for you from the spiritual perspective. And by that way, also helping you regulate how you eat. because now you're going to eat out of respect versus out of just because we're so used to eating. Like even I still have like where I don't sit every time I go to eat and go, okay, I gotta make sure this is good. Like even I forget because it's so ingrained to just eat and to eat mindlessly. And we do that. There's a reason for eating mindlessly. It's so that you can pay attention to your environment while you're eating, right? It's a survival mechanism.
Yeah.
But we're in a period where we can eat inside buildings where we're not going to be attacked readily. So we can actually take the time to prepare our food. But you don't, yeah. So I take the spiritual side where you learn the actual spiritual do's and don'ts of your eating to help you be more in tune spiritually. And a bonus of that program is that you know while you're trying to learn to adjust your food and get it spiritually right, you're learning to sense the flow. So it's a bonus of really learning how to connect with the energy and to an extent the people around you. So I don't know how clear that was as a definition, but
Yeah. No, that totally makes sense because you're kind of cleansing in a sense your body,
yeah,
and that allows you to connect with others, with the spirit world. It's kind of a refresh or I guess a cleanse is the best way I can
yeah.
describe it.
It's a
Sort of
every time you
starting
eat,
from zero.
right. I like to say it's a reaffirmation of your life every time you eat.
Mhm.
And if you're a person who happens to be kind, it's a reaffirmation of the value of the life that existed that's now making way for you to continue your life.
Especially when we know what happens to animals that are
Yes.
killed and things like that. And if you're not paying attention to buying or can't afford,
Mhm.
grass-fed or whatever, and free range and all of that, um, it becomes more challenging.
Right. And I'm glad you brought that up because the honesty is that the less we pay attention to our food, the more cruelty goes into the foods we eat, be it the animals or the plants we eat. Like, take oranges, right? If you don't live in a place that oranges can grow year round, those oranges are plucked from the tree before they're ready. Like,
Right.
not even worrying about the fact that, that orange is going to feed the seeds inside and grow into a tree. Just for you, chemically, the tree is not properly, like, it won't produce the vitamin C because it didn't have enough nutrients from the tree yet to grow to the size it needed to grow and to get its development done. So you're not even getting the vitamins that you're supposed to get out of it. Like, just even little things
Yeah.
like that. Like,
Yeah.
I refer back to the idea of so above, so below. What happens in the spiritual world happens in the material world. But that means conversely that what happens in the material world also has an element in the spiritual world. So
Good
it's all
point.
about linking yourself, that connection back and forth, being bridges between the spiritual and the physical and the material. Trying to
I
keep my
love that.
terminology straight here.
No, I love that building. You keep your metaphors straight, but I
Yeah.
like building bridges.
Mm,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Well, Daniel, let's do you have some cards, do you not? I always like to do a
I
card pull, see what the universe has to say about what we've just been talking about. Now, did you create these or
no, these I got as a birthday gift.
oh, happy birthday.
Nice. It was in August, but
Okay.
it was that's
Not
okay. But thank you
a month
anyways.
ago. Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
over a month ago because it was at the
What
beginning.
what are they called? Is there a name for the
So
deck?
these are tarot cards,
Mhm.
but they are themed based on Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Oh, perfect. Perfect.
The picture in the back there. Whenever you use a background, right, you got to do that hand thing or
Yeah,
try to
no, I
make
can see it. We can see
yeah.
it.
You
Awesome.
can see the crew from the Enterprise.
The crew from the Enterprise, next generation
Yeah.
Enterprise, not the old one.
So yeah. So all the themes in the cards, instead of being the traditional pentacles, cups, wands, swords, you get latinum, the money the Ferengis use. You have
The
stars.
which? Platinum?
So latinum or gold pressed latinum. That's the currency that the aliens, the Ferengi
Oh,
use.
the Ferengis. Gotcha.
Yeah. So that replaces the pentacles
Okay.
for the element of Earth, and then you get uh, for cups you have starships. So and then for swords or for blades you get batlets, right? The Klingon sword, basically.
Okay. Is
And then,
that a Klingon thing?
yeah.
Okay.
And then for, what was the other one? For wands, what is it for one? No, okay. Because I haven't really played with this
Getting
deck as much as I
mixed up
could have.
now.
Yeah. Starships.
Cups, wands, swords, and
Okay.
um,
Platinum. So it's going to be the first one. Oh, cloaks. You know the cloaking devices that let the Klingons and the Romulans go invisible?
right.
Well, that is wands, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So,
Cool.
all right.
All right.
So, do you have something you want to discuss, or do you want to do like random wisdom
I would like to know what the spirits think about what we've been saying.
on this episode?
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Who wants to tune in on this one? All right. My not quite serpent from the Garden of Eden is going to participate in this one.
Okay.
All
Awesome.
right. So,
Hello.
says hi.
Cool.
We could probably did a whole episode just talking back and forth while I channel.
Well, I think we should do that
Yeah.
next time. We will do that.
All right. So I'm gonna pull a card. Oh, I guess it's on the top. So I don't usually do reverse meanings because I figured
No,
if you can give me the card that actually matters, and if we need more than one card, that's fine. Because to me, that's lazy, and I don't allow it. The
exactly. I do
scripts
that
I
too.
work with.
I don't do
So
reversals.
right. So where you're getting, do I have two cards? I have two cards, but that does. Oh, interestingly,
You got two. Okay.
yes, and it's both the same actress playing the. So
Oh, okay.
Tasha Yar, right? So I can't remember her name. And then when they did a time traveling thing, there was her daughter.
What's her name in the show? I can't remember now.
So the original role, it's Tasha Yar.
Tasha. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they did a time traveling episode, which I don't completely remember. But then she ended up with a daughter who was Romulan or half Romulan that looks like her. So they brought the
Oh,
actress back. I'm trying to think. So now which card is it? It's this card. It's the Tasha Yar. So it's the card of death.
death. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, we've certainly been talking about a change, a
Right.
renewal.
But when I pull cards for someone, there's two things I do. One, I let them give their initial reaction when they see the card. So what's your initial reaction to this card?
My initial reaction is that it's apropos of what we've been saying because we're talking about reaching a point where
Right?
something has to happen.
Yes. Like yeah, death traditionally means you're hitting a transition point.
Yes.
Everything and it's a transition that's significant enough that it's basically you've left your old way of doing things behind. Like I think in psychology we call it an ego death. Right.
Yes.
So you'd have this whole new way of viewing the world. So yeah. So and I would hope that this episode has brought that to people that gave them something to think about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah. So that's the official definition, and then that's the impression you got from it.
And then, well, so what do you think?
Well, I get the same idea that yes, but I'm a bit polluted now by the initial discussion.
Oh,
But it's true, like, right? So, like, I look at it, I see her face. She's worried because this is actually the scene, or at least that's the planet she dies on in the background.
oh, so I didn't know that.
Yeah, I remember that much from that episode, because there was and then they did her funeral on there. So, yeah, one of my things with this deck is that I have to kind of get back into what these characters were like. But but if you look at her features, right? So she's got kind of there's almost a little bit of fear in her eyes,
Yeah,
right, of what's to come.
yeah. Well, I think that's appropriate too.
And that's important, right? There is because any big change comes with fear. But it's actually a good sign that you're afraid because that means you're actually giving consideration to the fact that something new is has to happen. And then you worry, will I survive this? Will I be okay? But that means you're accepting that something's changing, that something's happening. Because if you don't accept it, right, you're not scared. You're not scared,
Right. And you're not going to change.
right? And you're not going to change. But when you have the fear, which
Hmm.
this card usually invokes in people, not this specific card, but that the death card, right? First thing's like, oh my God, death. Even if they know it doesn't mean death, there's still that initial reaction of, oh my God. And it's because any big change is scary. Unless you're like absolutely really looking for the change, like any change that you're not really necessarily prepared for or understand, there's fear. And that fear, because one of the big things about fear is that it's meant to get you to find information. A lot of times we're afraid, even when we have built-in trauma, because we don't know how to handle that situation. And so fear goes, I need you to keep finding information on this. Just like it makes you run away, or just like it
Mhm.
has the four, the flight, fight, flight, fawn, freeze, right? All
Yeah,
those things, fear does all those things for you. Those are the major reactions. But freeze is about getting information.
I like that. It's like you do something or you start to do something and realize you're not
Right.
ready or something like
Hmm.
that. And
You don't know enough to handle the situation, so you freeze because you don't have a solution.
yeah.
Therefore, you need to collect information. I mean, the other stuff too, you can tie in flight is the I don't know what to do yet, so I'm getting out of here.
Hmm.
You can do that as well.
Yeah.
But part of a major role of fear is to get you to collect information. Because if you're ever in a scary situation, I always use horror movies, right? When they don't show you the monster, they just give you little hints. That's the scariest. Once the monster is revealed, your brain can start making plans or make assumptions, anyways.
Right.
But then that takes away from the fear. So fear is a lot of it is based on a lack of information what to do in a situation.
That is so true.
Yeah, I was gonna word more, but I was gonna put more words, but that's not necessary.
Go ahead.
Well, because I was gonna say, like, you can make strategies when you know what to do. When you don't know what to do, you can't make strategies, or at least you don't trust your strategies.
Yeah.
So, and I find like when I listen to people talk about trauma, it's one of the things I notice is that I didn't know, and I still don't know how to react in that situation that I survived. I still have no solution, so it still bothers me, and so it still kicks in fear.
That has happened. That
Yeah,
happens. That's happened to me. I still don't know how to fix it.
yeah, and that
So it's something that continues to bother me. So what do I do? Get more information?
yes, on what happened to you, like,
Hmm.
and you have to be whenever you have a trauma, you have to be prepared to face your trauma. Like, was that trigger warnings? They're not as effective as they could be. Like, yes, if you don't want to start something, give a trigger warning.
Hmm.
But you're doing that more to close the conversation than you are to actually help the person. Because the more you're exposed to the thing that traumatizes you, within reason,
Hmm.
right? You want to keep re-traumatizing, but you need that exposure to keep your brain trying to come up with solutions. Because you can ignore things until they come up, which a lot of people do. So there's a reason why you keep when someone does, and I guess I'll state this right. I'm not a mental health professional, so this is not advice. Do
Hmm.
what you want with it. Uh, this is just my observations. The more you're exposed to it, the more your brain takes time to come up with solutions. And therefore, at some point, you'll eventually come up with a solution.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. I've always been interested in human psychology, but it makes sense because it's hard to understand yourself if you don't try to at least explore different ideas
Right.
about how well about how human beings work. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
What was the other card?
So the other card, the Queen of Cloaks.
Queen of Wands?
So it would be the Queen of Wands. Yes, I'm just going to confirm that. This is still a relatively new deck to me with new symbolism. I'm just going to make sure because it seems to me that's what it was. And I don't want to mislead people but you know what? What's your initial reaction to it?
She's quite competent. She knows where she's going and what she wants to do.
So what does this card make you think then? What would you say the answer is looking at it?
The answer is that we have the ability, we have all the skills, the knowledge, the ability inside us somewhere.
All right. So you know what? As much as it'd be interesting to know who the Queen of Cloaks actually is. I'm assuming because it's the only one left, so it has to be fire. But what you're saying is spot on. Just like I said earlier, right? We spend a lot of time getting in our own way because that's how we grew up in society. Because, and I don't want to, again, I don't want to assign any morality to it. Because when you have large jurisdictions and you try to get everyone to work together, right? Some people aren't going to get helped. But every time there's an issue, and I've been working on this for like decades, trying to figure out why don't I want to do this? Why aren't I doing this? I should be. Everyone is doing this. Why can't I do this? Right? Why
Right.
am I having such a hard time? And I'm seeing people like just blowing through some of the things that I don't want to do. And I'm like, how are you doing this? Like, this makes no sense to me.
Exactly.
But again, if it's something I can see the purpose of it, or I'm actually enjoying doing, then it doesn't matter. I don't need to convince myself. I don't need to take all these extra steps. I don't need what is it, the 7 habits of whatever successful people. You don't need those things if you actually want to do the thing. And that's what you have to ask yourself. Like, actually, now that I brought up the 7 step or 7 habits of successful people, what if you don't want to be that kind of successful? Then those 7 steps don't really matter to you.
What
Those
if you
seven
do,
habits.
though?
Well, then if you do, right, there's a good chance you've already started yourself on the journey.
Yeah.
Now, then this is of a help to you.
Yeah. Like
See, right?
you want to master something, but
Right.
it's hard.
Right. And you're totally free, because I don't want to give that impression. You're totally free to do something that doesn't seem naturally aligned to you.
Right.
More than welcome to do it. If nothing else, it's like talking to someone, right, who's in opposition to you. You learn. Even if you don't continue with it because you realize, yeah, this really doesn't align with me, it's just still giving you a perspective.
Yep.
And it's so that you can take what you know and add that new perspective to it. If you
Yep.
don't mind, I'm going to quote a cartoon here.
Please do.
So if anyone has ever watched Avatar: The Last Airbender,
I haven't.
okay, it's made by Nickelodeon. It's a cartoon about essentially there's the Avatar is a character that within its universe, right, is someone who keeps reincarnating, and they can wield the 4 elements, earth, whatever, earth, water, fire, air. So one of the characters in there that's very, very well beloved, known as Uncle Iroh, is a firebender. They're called benders. Only the Avatar can do all 4, and everyone else, depending where you come from, can do one. But what he does is he went and traveled the world. Not he started off as a conqueror, but ended up getting rid of that. And he learned, and his firebending techniques are based on things he learned from different techniques. So he'll use some techniques that come from water. Famously, that's used to redirect lightning, which is like you can do if you're a firebender, shoot lightning. But using the principles from water, he's learned to redirect lightning. And taking, so his whole spiel was you can learn from each individual elemental nation to increase your own skills, even if you're not the avatar who can build all 4, even if you're still with your own element. So you can still learn from other people, and you can still learn from pushing yourself to do things not natural to you.
Right.
It's actually a very, if you're bored later, just look it up. I think just look at Uncle Iroh and look at Uncle Iroh and Zuko, because that's his nephew. That's the main antagonist at the
Okay.
beginning, anyways. But anyway, it's an interesting speech. There's a lot of interesting moments. It's a really well done. It's a really well done show. But
Very cool. We'll put it in the show notes.
yeah,
People want to check it out. Awesome.
yeah.
So Daniel, what's the message that we want to leave everyone with today?
Be yourself, and it's never been an easier time to be yourself.
Okay.
You can self-publish books. You can put your performances if you're a musician online. You can blog, write your thoughts. You can have a YouTube channel. You can do a podcast like we do. It's never been, and all this information is available to you. Even when people try censorship, there's still all the foundational stuff is still out there. People are sharing left and right. Like I said, the free part is the podcast for me, and in there, if you're really motivated or you really it really aligns with you, you can. It's about over 200 hours of content now. You can go through there and you can teach yourself to be a magician if you really want, a wizard if you really wanted to.
Beautiful.
So it's never been a better time. We still have a lot of freedom. We still have a lot of access to information. You just have to figure out what information you want. That's the hard part now.
Fantastic. Thank you for being here, Daniel, so
Thanks for having
much.
me on. Yeah.
And we're going to do another one and you're going to channel for us, right?
Okay. We'll see who we have on deck when that comes along.
Grab another deck.
Yeah.
All right. We'll talk to you soon, okay?
All right. Thanks, Beth.
And I'm Bev Young, and I help spiritual and heart-centered entrepreneurs get maximum credibility and visibility online with a website they love and that works. See you next time.